Welcome back to the program. I'm Chris McCutcheon, and you're listening to Aging with Options, Louisville's only radio program dedicated to seniors and topics of importance to seniors in our community and those who care for them. My guests in the studio are Bernie and Rhoda Fowler, elder care attorneys with Kentucky Elder Law, a firm they started to help seniors. Their practice is restricted solely to helping seniors and their family members. We've been talking about legal issues impacting seniors, specifically Medicare, Medicaid, and how the costs of a nursing home care are provided for. We'll continue on that same thought process. And Bernie, you were telling us a little bit about that. Does Medicare cover nursing home costs?
Medicare will cover up to, at most, 100 days of nursing home. That's the most. So you got anywhere from 0 to 100, depending on the facts we talked about. The average stay in a nursing home is 997 days, which is 2 years, 9 months. Not to say some people stay in a week and come out or die, and others are in for 10 years. But the average is 2 years, 9 months, so there's a big gap between 100 days and 2 years, 9 months. The next group, the next way to pay is private pay. So people come in and they pay, and according to the state, the average cost of a nursing home is $6,000 a month. But in the Louisville area, it's $8,000 a month, and some facilities are now up at $9,600 a month as a base charge plus extras. So you're looking at $100,000 to $120,000 a year. You start to string in year after year, you're adding up to real money. So that is private pay. And we work with those folks because the government wants you to pay every penny you ever had and ever will have and ever thought about having before they pay anything. But the law does not actually require that. Mm-hmm. The law requires some assets to be preserved under certain circumstances, and we work with folks to do that within the regulations. So that is private pay. Long-term care insurance, nursing home insurance, only pays about 1% of the bill because the people in the nursing home, the average age of admission is 83, and the biggest age group we deal with are folks in their 80s and the family members who are 50s, 60s, 70s. That group did not buy long-term care insurance in the 90s when they would have bought it in large numbers because, one, they didn't know about it, two, the products weren't that good. But we see some people that have it, and it's very good when they do have it, but from an industry point of view, it's only paying about 1% of the cost. The balance of the cost is picked up by the Medicaid system. The Medicaid system is an entitlement program, and in Kentucky, pays about 60% of the cost of nursing homes. About 70% of the people in nursing homes are on Medicaid, but Medicaid's paying about 60% of the cost because the people pay all of their income, generally all of their income. If there's a spouse, there's some different rules. They pay their income to the nursing home, and then Medicaid is the payer of last resort, and will pick it up within the rules of the system.
So the perception, Rhoda, that a person must be flat broke in order to apply for Medicaid, that's just not accurate then, right?
It is not accurate because there are things a person is allowed to maintain or keep. It varies whether there's a spouse who is living outside the nursing home. That's called a community spouse. The community spouse can live at home, in assisted living, in personal care, in a nursing home, other than in a nursing home, in a hotel, on a cruise ship, any place other than the nursing home. And Medicaid doesn't want to totally impoverish the community spouse because then the community spouse would need welfare to keep living in the community. But in addition, a nursing home resident is allowed to keep certain things which vary from state to state. What we do with families is we help to preserve as many of the assets as possible. The sooner we start, the more assets that can be preserved. We preserve assets for the community spouse, so the spouse isn't impoverished. We preserve assets for the nursing home resident so that they can have things that Medicaid does not cover. Medicaid allows a nursing home residents a whopping $40 a month that they call a personal needs allowance. This covers toiletries, clothing, telephone, cable. It can cover things like eyeglasses, hearing aid batteries, electric wheelchairs, which are replaced on a very sparse schedule by Medicaid, so that the money is there to help the nursing home resident. We also preserve assets so that the nursing home resident can leave some kind of inheritance to their children. If you have two families, one that lives high on the hog and spends all of their money and then needs a nursing home, they immediately get nursing home assistance from Medicaid. If the other family has been careful and saved their money, Medicaid would say, we want you to spend the money. Where we come in is we help people to preserve that money.
You're talking about the concept of Medicaid planning.
Yes.
Right? Different than hiding assets.
Totally different. We don't hide anything. We disclose everything to the Medicaid office. The Medicaid people could be sitting in our office through all the meetings, read everything we do. Everything is disclosed. It's 100% disclosure. We get accurate records. We insist that our clients have accurate records, so everything can be disclosed and shown where it fits in the rules.
Right, right. So for folks that aren't aware of what types of things fit within the rules, a significant amount of risk there of assets that aren't properly planned for and provided for in order to be able to set those aside in a way that's within the law.
Right. The rules are not intuitive. And as Rhoda mentioned earlier, what estate planners do, which is very good estate planning, is often just the wrong thing to do for Medicaid planning. And I mean, the rules there are volumes and volumes of rules. So you want to be familiar with them. They are not necessarily applied uniformly. There's some variation from county to county, and it's not that consistent. So you want to be familiar with the rules. So if someone applies it in a way that you think is not accurate, you can point it out and work that way.
And the rules are not available to the public. The Medicaid office in Frankfort does not have a link on any public website for the public to be able to find the Medicaid rules, which you're supposed to follow. And in fact, a couple of years ago, when there was a change in the rules, a supervisor at the Medicaid office, when I said, where can anyone find these rules, with a sneer in her voice, told me, the public has no right to know. So
Wow.
The public had no right to know the rules that they're required to follow, in her opinion.
Of how to protect their own assets.
Right, or how to comply with the rules. Now,
Right.
there is federal law, but the average person is not going to read the U.S. Code. And there is state regulation, known as Kentucky administrative regulations, but that's not something the average person even knows exists or can read. And then there is the state manual that is actually followed in the offices, which is what Rhoda is referring to. That's what the caseworker will follow, and that is not a public document. It should be a public document because it's a government publication, but they don't make it available. I mean, we have it, but they don't make it available to the public.
Very interesting. Kentucky Elder Law helps seniors and their families preserve assets and prepare a variety of legal documents specifically intended for seniors to address the legal needs they encounter. Bernie and Rhoda Fowler, elder law attorneys, are my guests on the Aging with Options show. We'll be back with much more right after this break. You're listening to Aging with Options on 970 WGTK.